Aaron Judge has been diagnosed with a right elbow injury, specifically a flexor strain. In this video, we'll talk about why I'm really not that concerned about what this could mean for him going forward. Welcome back, everybody. I'm Dr. Brian Sutterer, and the goal in this channel is to teach more about the medical side of the sports world. So, of course, word came out today on social media that Aaron Judge has been diagnosed with a flexor strain, specifically flexor pronator mass of his throwing elbow. Now, anytime we see a baseball player with an elbow injury, it seems like everybody's immediate assumption is that this is going to be a UCL. All kinds of speculation about Tommy John surgery. Oh my goodness, he hurt his elbow. You know, he's due for Tommy John. The season is over. There's a bunch of different stuff that can cause an elbow injury, specifically in a throwing athlete, and even specifically on the inner part of the elbow. And so just when we hear somebody with an elbow injury, yeah, if it's a pitcher, it happens suddenly, you're going to think UCL. But remember, there's a lot more stuff that can happen to a throwing athlete, especially, that is not nearly going to be as concerning as a UCL injury. And in this case, I think Judge has come out on the fortunate side. But we'll talk about why the UCL and the flexor strain can go together. So looking at our biodigital anatomy model here, I want to focus on the right elbow and specifically the medial side of the elbow. So when we describe locations in anatomy, medial is going to be kind of closer to the inside of the midline of the body here. Lateral is going to be the outside. And so the UCL sits on the medial or inner part of the elbow. So this guy is going to be medial. This guy is going to be lateral. Now, specifically, the medial epicondyle is a part of the humerus around the elbow, and it's right where this flexor pronator muscle tendon mass is going to originate. So take your own elbow, poke right there on the inside, that hard bone that you feel just around your funny bone area, the ulnar nerve. That's going to correspond with this guy right here, the medial epicondyle. And the common flexor tendon is a tendon that originates off that medial epicondyle, and then the muscles that expand off of it, going down the inner part of the forearm, ultimately all the way down into the hand and the wrist. So remember, whenever you grip things, move your fingers, that muscle is actually originating up on the inner part of your elbow with big long tendons that go into your hand. So this flexor pronator mass is going to pronate, meaning turn the hand over, and it's also going to flex your wrist, flex your fingers, and be active whenever you grip. The important correlation here with the UCL and why everybody hears about flexor strain and like a harbinger for ACL tear is because the flexor pronator mass in part functions as an active stabilizer of the UCL, of the elbow. This elbow joint, whenever a throwing athlete throws, is subjected to valgus load. The UCL, the ulnar collateral ligament, is a passive stabilizer that spans between the humerus and the ulna. So if we hide some of these various muscles here, we can eventually get down to where we see that ulnar collateral ligament sitting right down here on the inner part of the elbow. So that UCL is passive, meaning it's not able to fire, contract, move, adapt, hypertrophy, etc. It's just there doing what it can to support the load. The overlying muscle acts like an active stabilizer where, depending on the strength of the muscle, the stamina, endurance of the muscle, that can help just kind of take some of that load through the elbow joint and not put as much strain on the underlying UCL. In Judge's case, this seems very much like it was a sudden injury. He threw a baseball really hard. That throwing motion can put stress on your flexor pronator tendon and can cause an injury. In a pitcher, if you have a lot of issues with flexor strain injuries, that can be a sign that you're putting a lot of repetitive stress or trauma on your elbow. If the flexor pronator mass muscle tendon is not able to do its active job in stabilizing the elbow, then you can put more stress on the underlying ulnar collateral ligament. So yes, it's definitely something to think about and be aware of. The fact that an athlete who has a flexor strain in the elbow could potentially be at risk of some impending UCL problems. But in a field position player, I wouldn't stress about that as much as I would compared to a pitcher. A pitcher, absolutely. You see somebody starting to deal with flexor strains, you got to think about mechanics. You got to think about throwing load, because that could be a sign that it's going to lose its ability to protect and stabilize this UCL. In Judge, yes, the Yankees have had a lot of position players have UCL injuries, but that's not a specific pattern that we would worry about as much in a position player as we would the pitcher. So that's what's going on in Judge's case. I think it's very good to see this discussion about kind of potential risk to the UCL in this injury situation, because yeah, that does take it a bit deeper than just your standard reporting. So I really like seeing that. But just at face value, this is nothing that I would be worried about for Judge going forward. I expect him to probably be back throwing 2 to 4 weeks. He's going to go through an initial shutdown period, be in rehab to try and help promote healing of those tendon fibers, those muscle fibers. Like he said, whenever he hits, there's no pain because that's not going to put strain on that tendon whenever you're hitting. So if everything goes well, would expect this to be maybe a 2 to 4, 3 to 4 week time before he's back throwing in the outfield. And in my opinion, nothing we need to worry about at face value for long-term UCL problems. That's it for the video, everybody. Thank you as always for watching. Let me know any questions or comments down below. And until next time, we'll see you later. Bye.